Hello, guys. Welcome to another episode of the Commerce Lab by Ecomcy, the place of everything related to Amazon FBA, private label, and e-commerce. My name is Vincenzo Toscano, your host, founder, and CEO of Ecomcy. And today we bring you another special guest. Her name is Yael Cabilly, and she's the co-founder of Fortunet, which is one of the top companies in the space when it comes to helping you exit your Amazon business. And she's also the founding partner of Cabilly, also one of the top companies in the space when it comes to helping you with all the legal side of your e-commerce business. So Yael, I have known her for a while now. Actually, we had an amazing time back in Tel Aviv. I think it was around June, July. I was at her event. She did an amazing job. Very proud of her. And today I want her to bring her to the show because I know at Fortnite they did an amazing tour when it comes to basically understanding the benchmarks when it comes to basically having an Amazon business. We all know, we all have this question like, it seems like I'm making some money. It seems like I see some nice numbers, but how I'm comparing against the market? I'm doing well, I'm growing, I'm not growing. And that's where today we're gonna go and dive in. So yeah, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you for being here. How you doing?
Good, good. Pleasure to be here. It's about time. By the way, we also had fun together in Mexico, not only in Tel Aviv.
Oh, that's right. I forgot the
Yeah.
margaritas. Yeah. Yeah, I
Fun.
remember. So yeah, we've been sharing so many amazing moments. And actually, I was surprised. I was telling you before bringing you to the show. I was surprised that you never been in the podcast. So we've been doing this podcast for 2 years now, and it's crazy you never been here. But yes, I mean, I'm thankful that you're here now. If you want, let's start first with a quick intro by yourself. I know most people already know you by now, but for those that don't, like, tell me a little bit and to our guest today, who is Yael and how you got started into e-commerce and founded the companies I just mentioned. Yeah,
Sure. So Yael, I have three boys,
nice.
married. I started my ecom journey in 2016. Started on the legal side. It started with a few sellers with trademarks issues, patent issues. Then we started
Mhm.
helping with suspensions, and I decided to start a law firm that focuses on e-commerce and specifically Amazon. Since then, the law firm has served over 7,000 sellers,
Wow.
and really focusing on IP and suspensions, the more complex cases.
Yeah.
And then in 2018, many sellers started thinking about exiting and selling their brand. And together with two partners, we founded Fortunet,
Hmm.
which is an investment bank that helps sellers exiting mostly e-commerce brand, medium and large, Amazon, D2C,
Hmm.
e-commerce brands generally. That's what we've been doing in the last 5 years. We represented about 150 different brands over the years.
Wow.
So kind of saw the market growing gradually and then going down, and then
Yeah.
all, all the all the different graphs that you can think of.
Roller coaster. Yeah, I know. I
Yeah,
know. In,
yeah,
in
yeah.
fact, I wanted to touch on that. I think you have seen everything. You have seen the race of all these aggregators, all this money coming to the space. Most of the aggregators going under now, the market being consolidated. I'm sure you have so many insights about basically the current situation and also the things that you learn most likely from all these journeys. So I guess before we dive into the benchmarks and everything, which I'm sure people are gonna get a ton of value out of that, tell us a little bit about how was that experience, especially for you working at Fortinet and having seen everything in first person. Like, what are some of the things you've been seeing in terms of changes in the market when it comes to exiting a business? Yeah.
Yeah, so we've, like you're saying, we saw it rising. We saw the challenges. 2021 was probably the peak of
Exactly.
that period. I think that since then, what we all saw is that some of these aggregators have focused on the businesses that they already bought, tried to optimize them, try to focus on their own operations. It's very hard to scale while optimizing the businesses themselves. And a few of them disappeared. A few, you see the headlines recently with bankruptcy. But generally speaking, I think that those who remained are smarter. They buy specific businesses, usually in specific niches that they already penetrated. They know exactly what they're looking for. They know what they're not looking for. And I think that the general headline would be that they're more picky. And that's kind of one of the reasons we've done this benchmark, so that sellers understand where they excel and where they don't, and where they have to really improve the business, and what's actually not sellable at all.
Exactly.
So that was kind of the background that led to this. But it's true that the market has changed a lot since even since our trip to Mexico last year.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. In fact, something that you mentioned that I think was a huge mistake, and I saw it from the very beginning, and they were doing that, is like all these aggregators, some of them, they were buying anything based on data, but not based on their experience. So basically, just because something had nice numbers and it made sense, or sometimes they just had to deploy the money, they were buying one day a baby brand, next day they buy a clothing brand, next day they buy a supplement brand, and they didn't have the experience on those categories. They were just driven by numbers. That was a huge mistake, because on top of that, which I'm sure you saw, that they were even removing the founders most of the time. That was a huge disaster. I mean, taking all this business and just treating it basically as real estate, right? An actual business has operations at the back end. Completely was a disaster for most of them. And on top of that, I think I agree, the ones that are now in the market succeeding, they are going the route of basically becoming specialists. Like they only specialize on supplements, they only specialize on baby brands and things like that. And a few of them are doing very well now. I think that's the key, and that's the lesson. I think even for the ones watching and listening to this episode, it's like when it comes to Amazon, you need to specialize on a niche. If you go down the route of selling anything just for the sake of making money, like I have seen it many times, you're gonna struggle. You basically become the master of nothing.
Yeah, I agree.
So it's out.
I agree. Both
Yeah,
of our businesses are very focused. If there's no e-commerce, we have no business.
exactly.
But I agree. I think that being more focused now is an advantage. And actually, you touched the point of leaving the founders. It's interesting to see what happened on both sides, because I remember in 2017, maybe, we did several buyers came to the space and wanted to buy the businesses together with their founders. And most of the founders said, there's no way I'm going to work with someone. I'm going to come every morning to
Like an
their office.
employee.
Yeah, I remember that it was, and so they couldn't buy anything because, and we saw several buyers like that. They couldn't buy anything because none of the founders were open to that. Then came the aggregators who bought everything without the founders, but pretty quickly found out that yes, economy of scale, and yes, there's a lot they can do, but running this business isn't that easy. It's not enough to aggregate them and have someone for PPC and someone for this.
Exactly.
It's quite complex. And I think that what we're seeing now is two parties more open. The founders are okay to stay in the business for 2 years, 3 years. They want to see their baby grow in the hands of the buyers, and usually they're incentivized to do so. So you can have deals where you sell 60%, 70% now, or 80, and then the rest you sell in a year or two. So you're incentivized to grow it and to stay. And in some cases, we actually saw that the second exit, the second part, was either equal or bigger than the first part.
Exactly.
So that's something that is changing. I think that with these changes, we're going to see the businesses, the brands themselves
Yeah.
growing faster.
Good. Now, you mentioned also the benchmark, and I think that's something that I really want to dive in onto this episode, because I'm sure throughout all this journey of you guys at Fortunet having to deal with hundreds of brands, you basically over time understand what is really the brackets where business need to land when it comes to certain KPIs, and also to understand, especially when you're doing most like an audit for potentially helping these brands to exit, where they fall and if actually you guys can help them with that. And I think this is a question that I get all the time where people come to us as well. Like they want me to know if a specific ACOS is good for them, is a specific profit margin is good for them. And let's be honest, there isn't a perfect answer for everybody because different business work on different basically KPIs when it comes to objective, but there is a baseline most of the time if you put everything and calculate the average. So I know that's the goal when you guys release this amazing tool, because basically now allows you to understand where you basically fall when it comes to this benchmark. So if you want, let's start with a quick intro about, what is the goal behind sharing this tool with the community, and how would you say, an Amazon seller can make the most out of it? Yeah.
Yeah. So this tool started as something internal where we, when we
Okay.
review businesses and we advise our client, you're not ready to sell because you have to fix this, and that.
Exactly. Okay.
Then we want to know what metrics we're looking at and where do they need to be so that we can sell them. So it started, when you have in aggregate, we have hundreds of LOIs and hundreds of deals that we've looked at, and hundreds of proposals that buyers gave. So even those that were not taken, the proposals that were not taken, are an indication for us, and that's data for
Mhm.
us that they like it or they don't like it. A
Exactly.
business that gets 13 LOIs, 14 LOIs, we know that something is good there. So over time, we took this data, and we extracted the different metrics and what works and what not. And so in this tool, we would tell you what the range of what's considered these days a good ACOS, for example,
Hmm.
a good margin,
Hmm.
a good cost of goods,
Yeah.
and then based on that, you can know if you should improve your market or not market. I gotta say that some of the things are extremely important, and some a little less. I mean, some things they really look at. Some of them are nice to have.
Yeah.
And I'll give a few examples, but not everything is, if you don't have I don't know, 15% margins, you can't sell the
Exactly.
business. Not entirely true. It depends of, how amazing you are and how innovative your product is, and if you have patents, if you have this and that. So
Exactly.
everything is kind of out of context, but we try to give you some numbers to work with so that you can make your own plan.
Yeah. In fact, I totally agree, because I think, of course, the benchmark is there as a guideline, but I like the fact that you bring to the table that it doesn't need to be a range that you need to get married to that number, and if you're not there, you need to be all stressed, because I guess it depends on your face, on the face of the business. Again, I guess, and this will be a question for you. Like, if you're getting started, the first initial 6 months to 12 months, most likely you're not going to land on any of the average KPIs because you're going on aggressive and
Sure.
scale mode, right? So I guess that's also like a question, like how will you say this benchmark reflects in terms of the timeline? Is when this for a more mature business? Is after 2 3 years?
Yes.
Like, what is the timeline you're looking at? Yeah. Hmm.
It's for a more mature business.
Yeah.
Usually when they get to us, they want to exit. They're about to exit.
Exactly.
So that's where we look at it, and we ask ourselves, is, if I'm a buyer, if I acquired this business, would I like it or not? And I have to say that some disadvantage could be an advantage in the hands of certain
Mm,
people. So just to give you an example, if your ACOS is really bad, and the buyers look at the business and understand that you're actually not doing a good job,
exactly. Uh-huh.
this is where they could optimize it easily, and these are quick wins in their hands. Is it generally the case? No. In most cases, buyers want an optimized business, especially when it comes to advertising. But there are exceptions. So you haven't launched in EU. That's a shame, because
Exactly.
you're losing money, but then the buyer will do so. So it's kind of everything needs to be in context, and I think it's a good start for a conversation, at least to understand what you should do during that time. And I'm happy, by the way, to speak with anyone who wants to consult.
Awesome. That's very good. And just to dive a little bit just deeper when it comes to these benchmarks, like I know there's a lot of them, like we're talking cost of goods, the ACOS, repeat customer, product start rating, and cost of goods and so on. So my question for you will be, I know they are all very important because they all make huge contribution towards deciding how valuable your business is, and then therefore potentially getting an offer on your business. However, lately with all the market shift you've been seeing, are there like must have KPIs that are non-negotiable? Because I know some of them are negotiable because they can be seen as an opportunity, like something you're not doing right that I can fix on top of that. But what is like a KPI within this benchmark that you say, yeah, that's a no? If you're not there, like it can be
Don't come to me.
negotiable, yeah? Yeah.
It's a good question. I'd say generally, first of all, if we're talking about Amazon businesses,
Yeah.
that if you're an Amazon only business and you have no profit, or your profit is
Mm,
5%, the chances
there is
that you
an
sell these
yeah,
days in December 2023 are not high. By
yeah.
the way, it's not necessarily the case for some of the D2C businesses that we represent.
Mhm. Exactly.
Some more innovative businesses where they would be interested by your technology, your designs. So not necessarily for all businesses. But if you're, let's say, a lookalike FBA business, selling something that already exists, and you have no or very low profit, this is probably the one that will break the deal. Other than that, most metrics are not absolute. They don't rule out a sale if the other metrics are okay.
Awesome. Now, I'm sure when people start downloading the tool and start basically interacting with it, they're gonna find within the report that you have different tiers. You basically have the low, moderate low, fair, high, and
Yeah.
moderate high and high. So basically, my question to you, because I'm sure people are gonna have these questions, like where most business, based on your experience, they land? Would they say they land on
Where would
fair?
they be? Yeah.
Yeah, usually an average.
You
What do you say? Yeah,
So, obviously, most of them are in the fair, fair versus fair to high, if high is the
yep,
best, and fair to low, if low is the best. Like, for example, in ACOS, you want a low ACOS, right?
exactly.
So most of them would be on the moderately low for ACOS,
Mm-hmm.
or fair, kind of in the middle, slightly better.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but uh, but listen, in this market, those that are selling at high multiples, those that have a lot of interest, are obviously those that excel in the. So if you look at the 2025, I think businesses that are currently in the market at Fortunet, you would see those that are excelling, those that
Yeah,
are
the
in
ones
the
that have
high.
everything green,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. You'll see a lot of green there if you look at our benchmark. And that's why we're able to sell them, because they're outstanding in their category. Of course, you cannot, like I said,
Of course.
outstand in everything,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
that's just what you would see at Fortinet these days. Generally speaking, of course, if you're outside of Fortinet, those selling the large one, the most excellent businesses. If you're going generally broadly, you would see the medium, the fair, or the kind of that
Exactly.
would be the range. We see many businesses every day, not necessarily those that are going to sell now. So we took that into consideration as well.
Awesome. Now, when it comes to multiples and how this gets attached to the benchmark, how you also have seen this shifting with everything going on? Because I remember like 2 years ago in 2021, multiples were like crazy high, and that was also one of the reasons some of these aggregators had a struggle, because they were paying more that mathematically they could make back when it comes to leveraging the business, right? So now we're seeing having a consolidation when it comes to multiples, but I'm still hearing if you have a business that everything is green, 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 as I already say, you still can get very high multiples. So
Yeah.
what are you seeing? Like, what are those ranges based on your experience right now? Yeah.
Yeah. So what's interesting now is that the range is higher.
Okay.
It's more extreme. So, for example, if you're talking about a small FBA business, FBA only, not really growing a lot, you would see in the 3 to 4, not more than that. If you're looking at a large, excellent, maybe multi-channel
Hmm.
business in a unique niche or unique product. In some cases, we see multiples on the revenue.
Wow.
So
Crazy.
it's it can go to 3 on profit to 3 on sales. The range is crazy, but it's also because there's a difference between a 5 million business and 100 million business. So
Yeah.
it's very hard. It's very hard to talk about a range. It kind of depends which businesses you're talking about.
Makes sense.
Those that most of the businesses that we deal with that are at the 30-40 million businesses, 50 million, these businesses get high multiples, and they would not sell for low multiples. So huge range. I think that back in 2021, if you stayed in the FBA only,
Exactly. Yeah. Hmm.
you would get 4 to 7 or four
Hmm.
to eight. Now it's just that many of them do not go to market, and those who go expect high multiples. I hope I
That,
answered the question. It's
yeah,
such
yeah, totally,
a big
totally.
range.
Yeah, I think basically the conclusion is that now we are going into a space, an era where it's not only about what you do in FBA, but how you perform out of the FBA bubble. Like if you're multi-channel, if you have a
Yep.
community, if you're in a category that is unique or you have a patented product, things like that. Because I agree, like 2 years ago, you could be selling a water bottle and was
Yeah.
FBA, like without a lot of branding, you're getting 4 or 5 times multiple, which was crazy. I
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah. No, I
So
agree. There's a huge difference between a multi-channel,
yeah,
large brand that has technology or innovations that sells in 20 countries, and an FBA business of 2 million. Huge
yeah,
difference.
yeah,
Again, the multiples may be good for that business, and it doesn't take long in time to get to the 2-3 million compared to the other types of businesses. Usually, these
awesome,
are more established brands of many years.
awesome. And just a quick question on this, because I'm sure this could be a question that a lot of people could relate to. Like when it comes to exit, we say specifically on the multi-channel, because I get this question a lot. When it comes to exit, why you see is usually the best strategy, like selling this as an opportunity that can be made, or sometimes giving it a try. But if you give a try, it could happen that doesn't work out, and then you go to market and you showcase that you tried, it didn't work out. Like, would you say for most people, it makes sense to sell it as an opportunity, or to go for it? What is your? Yeah,
You
yes, you have
you mean like if I start selling on another channel and I fail, then
and
I
you
show
fail,
that
and then the buyer say, "Oh, you try
yeah,
Walmart," and now
yeah,
instead of seeing as
yeah.
opportunity, you
Well,
show that didn't work. Yeah,
right, you touched exactly the relevant point, I think, and that we see that sometimes on retail. So a lot of the sellers say, yeah, I haven't even started going to retail, that's a huge opportunity. But sometimes when they try, they don't necessarily succeed.
yeah, yeah.
Same for Shopify, some sellers try and
Hmm.
fail. I think that if you're going to sell in another channel, you really need to know what you're doing,
Exactly.
and take the most professional people you can to expand there, because it's better, like you said, you actually touched exactly on that point. It's better that you don't do it and that you focus only on Amazon, if you don't know how to do it, because then you ruin the
The
potential.
surprise.
uh,
Good.
yeah.
And now finally, these reports and the tool itself, like to understand how your business perform and everything, like, do you have some advice about in terms of actionable steps how a seller could use this? So what I mean by this is like, uh, what is the most practical exercise, like using the tool to understand where you are within the range and optimize it based on that, and if so, which KPIs to look first, just so we can start concluding on that, like how would you say a seller can use the tool? Yeah. Hmm.
So the best way to do it, I think, is go. There aren't so many metrics.
Yeah,
I
no.
would go one by one, see where you stand, and kind of mark to yourself what you should focus on in the next year. We do include suggestions of
Nice.
out of the box things that you can look at outside of what you're already doing, and what you should probably do to improve your ACOS and things like that.
Hmm.
Obviously, you can't teach the
Yeah, of course.
PPC in a
Yeah,
paper, but when you know what to focus on, then at least you can put your resources there. So I think the best way to use the tool is to understand where you stand, locate where you have problems, and
hmm,
and and see how you can improve it, and then either speak with us, we'll guide you. Sometimes there are things that stand out immediately and that we can tell you, that's a problem, that's what you should do. Sometimes we could connect you to specific professionals that can help you with that. And sometimes you know exactly what to do, you just haven't done it.
exactly. Very
And
good.
that's often the case with the outstanding people that we speak with. It's
Yeah,
often the case. It's just a matter
for
of
sure.
focus.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Yael. I mean, it's been a pleasure to have you here on the show today. Of course, I want you to use the last minute or so you can tell us how people can reach out to you, to your team. Of course, when it comes to the benchmark tool, I'm going to put the details down in the description. But let's say somebody wants to, talk about exiting their business, or maybe with your oil company, can really to look more on the legal side. Can you tell us how people can reach out to you? Yeah.
Yeah. So if you want to talk generally about exiting, or even talk about the tool, the benchmark,
Hmm.
what can be done, and kind of think with us, feel free to reach out. My email is yael@fortunet.net, or you can reach out through the website. The tool can be found on the website, and we'll share it here. I think some of the metrics there are known. Some of them are quite surprising.
Yeah. Yeah,
When
even for myself, I got surprised.
before we started Fortunet, some of the things that we imagined were far from being true. Many of them are, of course, they make sense if you run any business, not just an
Exactly.
Amazon business. So many of them will make sense to you. It's just an easy way to plan your year ahead. And I think planning is key when you're talking about an exit. If you want to exit in a year, start planning now. Start preparing. Start the conversations even to kind of focus you on what needs to be done.
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of this tool, that you have now something to aim towards, because without a tool such as this, you don't really know how to track you're going the right direction. But now, if you know, let's say you're moderate high or you're fair on certain of these KPIs and you need to improve it, like you know which direction to take rather than guessing and just having a conversation, a Facebook group, and hoping that's the KPI.
Yeah, yeah. I have a 60% ACOS.
Yeah.
Is it not good?
Exactly.
So
Yeah, and you're gonna get
yeah,
all type of responses. So very
yeah.
good. Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for being here on the show, and looking forward to meet you soon at some of the upcoming events. Yeah, been a
Thank
pleasure.
you. See you soon.
Say
Bye bye.
bye.